Good morning. My name is Joseph Citro, and I am chairing this meeting of the Livable Roadways Committee held today on November 17th, 2021. If we can all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
America, for it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Councilman Citro.
Okay.
Here.
Cal Hardy.
Here.
Christine Valentin.
Here.
And I also saw Una Johnson on the line. Julie Ham or Mark Hudson.
He ill.
Mark Hudson present.
Okay.
Michael Marino.
Here.
Peter S.
Here.
David Hay.
Here.
Emily Hinsdale.
Here.
Karen Cashin or Chris Thompson. Larry Josephson or Richard Rank. Karen Kress.
Here.
Matthew Lewis.
Here.
Justin Willits. I know I saw him on the line. Roger Menendez.
Present.
Jason Jackman.
Here.
Catherine Coyle. Arizona Jenkins. Alex Bourne.
Here.
Sarah Hendricks.
Here.
Christina Steffen.
Here.
Gus Ignis. Sandra Piccirilli.
Here.
And Matthew Pleasant.
Here.
I do need to let you know that there is an in-person quorum. Some members are participating virtually because of medical reasons and the local declaration of emergency.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here today. Ms. Silva, do we have any public comment?
Let me just double check see if anything came in the last few minutes. No public comment has been reported or submitted. I would like to, before we move on, welcome Alex Bourne, our new ITE member. He's physically present in the room today. He replaces Chris Milner that moved away or accepted another job.
Mr. Bourne, thank you very much for joining us. You'll find out that we are a very fun group. Highly opinionated, but we are a very, very fun group. Okay, then I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting of October 20th.
Okay.
Was that Mr. Marino?
Second.
We have a motion made by Mr. Menendez, seconded by Mr. Marino. All in favor, say aye.
Hold on, just time out for just a second. I was trying to allow Sarah Hendricks to unmute herself. She found an error in the minutes and submitted them electronically, and I was going to give her the opportunity to read them into the record. If not, I have her email to share with everyone.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, I just submitted a clarification to what I had said at the October meeting, just making a distinction between system efficiency measures, which is what the transit service is measured by in comparison to the motorist or the traveler experience measures, which is what we measure with regard to motorist. And my suggestion last time had to do with comparing apples to apples to suggest that we also adopt some kind of a measure that represents the travel experience of transit riders. Thanks. I don't have my wording right in front of me, Lisa, but that was the essence of my requested change.
Okay. If you guys are fine with the verbal summation, I have submitted her written edits of her own motion or discussion. So if you guys would mind editing your motion to approve with Sarah's revision, that would
Thank you,
get
Ms.
reflected.
Silva. Mr. Menendez, are you still making the motion for the corrected minutes?
Yes, I will make that motion with her corrections.
Great. You're still seconding that. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposed? Let the record reflect that the motion passes to approve the minutes of October 20th, 2021. Thank you very much. Do we have Ms. Allison Ye on the phone?
Morning, Chair Seabrook. How are you? I'm going to show my screen real quick. Don't see that capability right now to share.
I sent it over to you, so you should have received it.
Yeah, it popped in for a minute and then disappeared. Lisa, can you try that again? Sorry about
Jason, can you help? Because she's now not an option to make presenter because I've already sent it over. Can you repair that? If not,
Yeah.
I've got your
Let
PowerPoint ready to
me
go.
switch it back to you, and then I will give it back to her.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right.
Did that work? Okay. I'm seeing your PowerPoint on the screen for GoToWebinar. It's not in full screen mode yet.
Yep, going there right now.
Okay.
All right, everything is moving so slow. Good morning, everyone.
If
Can
it's a
you hear me?
problem, I have it as backup. Okay.
Thanks. No, if you can see it, I'm good. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. The item you have before you today is the Brightline SEIS, or Supplemental Environmental Impact Statement. It's specifically a historic resources review. And it's not forwarding. That's great. Okay. So this is the Brightline high-speed rail project from Tampa to Orlando. And the Federal Rail Administration sent us a letter initiating what's called a Section 106 consultation process for the National Historic Preservation Act. There was a record of decision for this alignment in 2010. That's the black line you see above you. That was the original 2010 alignment. And they have a new alignment now that moves the station about 0.6 miles south. It was near Marion Transit Station, and now it's going to Nuncio, Nebraska, where Union Station is. So this alignment is going to travel north along the western edge of Nuncio Parkway up to an elevated surface with the I-4 corridor at 14th and 15th Street interchange. Then it'll transition to the I-4 median and follow the Florida high-speed rail alignment heading east. So it's going to go through Hillsborough, Polk, Osceola, and Orange counties, all the way to Orlando International Airport. So a little bit about what the 106 consultation is. It's early in the process. We're in the beginning of the process, but overall they're looking to discuss and look at different views and seek agreement where feasible. So they're taking comments. And the whole point of contacted MPO and other entities, the City of Tampa, Hillsborough County, Tampa Preservation Inc., they've all been contacted, and they want to get opinions so they can identify an area of potential effects. So once they get that, after today's meeting, Lisa will be drafting a letter to the Federal Rail Administration so that will go into helping prepare this cultural resources assessment survey. And after that, they will develop a public involvement schedule for more detailed consultation, and usually in the form of a cultural resources committee. Before we talk about what historic resources might be impacted, I wanted to talk a little bit about what they mean by an adverse effect. So that's if a project might alter the characteristics that qualify a property for either inclusion in the National Register, or if it's already part of the National Register. So adverse effects can be either indirect or direct, and can be physical, destruction or damage, if some type of alteration is inconsistent with what the Secretary of Interior standards for treatment of historic properties are, if it relocates a property or changes the character of a property or setting, if there's some incompatible uses introduced, such as visual, atmosphere, or audible, if there's neglect and deterioration, and if there's a transfer, lease, or sale that takes it out of federal control and then doesn't have preservation restrictions attached to that. So in a nutshell, that's what they're talking about with adverse effects. And there's a entire citizens guide related to this from the Council on Historic Preservation. Okay, here's a map that where we've identified historic properties in the project area. The blue dots you see are local historic landmarks, and the red ones are national designated historic landmarks. You'll notice, I'm going to come back to this after I talk about some land use considerations, but you notice this area in yellow. That's kind of important. That's the Ybor City Historic Landmark District, the entire district. And you probably remember the 7th Avenue here is designated by APA as one of America's great streets. Just keep this in mind. We're going to talk about a few land use considerations. I'll come back to this map. So as with all these reviews, we consult our wonderful land use staff, and they pointed out some things to note for land use. One, that the alignment travels right through Ybor City Urban Village, and this whole area is trending towards a mixed-use development pattern. The Tampa Comp Plan seeks to ensure that all redevelopment projects and mixed-use and urban villages are designed for pedestrian traffic and connect and support citywide transit systems. The segment also travels through the local historic, Ybor Historic District, which is under the purview of the Barrio Latino Commission. BLC, it should be noted, that issues certificates of appropriateness prior to a City of Tampa issuance of any building permit. And any plan amendments that the Planning Commission does within the local district are also reviewed by the BLC before it goes to City Council. Specifically on policies, there's actually a number of policies that speak to historic resources, but I highlighted a few that I felt were particularly relevant to our conversation here. One is that Objective 16.1 overall looks to preserve Tampa's historic resources, and policies support historic preservation in neighborhoods. So any request that might have an adverse effect on historical character, whether it's the building, the site, or object, or anything within the periphery of the historic district, is to be reviewed. Also, the Architectural Review Commission reviews applications for anything related to historic districts. As well, the ARC and the BLC review requests for certificates of appropriateness, as I mentioned earlier. Lisa wanted me to keep this brief so we can have more discussion. Before we wrap up the context, I wanted to bring up one very important aspect of this review is that Black and Hispanic residents in Ybor City, VM Ybor, and Tampa's downtown have been seriously impacted by public works projects in general and attempts at redevelopment in the area. Urban renewal in what was known as the Scrub neighborhood in Ybor City led to really significant displacement of Black and Hispanic residents. And it was coupled with significant displacement as a result of construction of the interstate highway. I think we all know that pretty well here. And while we're doing this review, we want to keep in mind that historic and ongoing impacts are still happening to the residents of these neighborhoods, especially the Black and Hispanic residents. And so we need to seriously consider any changes and address any potential displacement of projects. And that was my brief summary. We're going to go back to discussion, but the action requested from the Livable Roadways Committee is to provide comments and then approve a letter that we're drafting that will include all the information that you've seen plus your comments to the Federal Rail Administration, and that will start the initial consultation process. And I'm happy to answer any questions and we can go into discussion now, but I'm going to jump back to the historic resources map that we saw earlier so we can talk from that one. Thanks. Let me go back. Is there any questions or comments?
Any questions thus far?
Michelle.
Mr. Menendez, you're recognized.
Thank you. Michelle, who's doing the craft for the new section? Do we know?
Who's doing the grass?
The cultural resource assessment.
The Federal Rail Administration takes all our comments and they do that.
Okay.
Just want to remind members that if you're in the room, if you could speak up and speak towards the microphones in the middle of the room, that really helps us.
Any other questions?
Hi, yes, I do
Hi.
have a question.
Ma'am, I'd like to ask one if I could. I know that we're discussing the historic values of this area and Brightline's terminal or terminus to their line. Has there been any thought so far as to a multimodal hub which will connect Brightline with any other transportation that may be in the future and or coming soon, i.e. the streetcar? How are these people that are coming from Disney, the mother, the father, the 2.5 kids with luggage in tow, going to get to the airport? Has that been discussed in this plan?
So on the Tampa end, Union Station, that actually is not called out in the letter that we got from Federal Rail Administration. There is plans locally for multimodal stations, so I can't speak to the connections here. Now, in the documentation you received, they do mention that when they get to Orlando, there's going to be 2 stops. There's going to be one in Disney and one at Orlando International Airport, and they will be connecting back to the Brightline network. And also, one important kind of minor note is that they're going to be using the diesel units that Brightline also uses. So there's going to be future compatibility with a high-speed rail network, at least from an equipment standpoint.
Well, I'm wanting more and more people to come to our lovely city for all sorts of things, hopefully a baseball team down in Ybor City. But it just seems to me that the plans should also incorporate, instead of just dumping people off in Ybor City, which again would be lovely, so everybody can go to the Columbia restaurant or see things down in Ybor City, that there should be some connectivity. And I'm just wondering if this was in the plans in the future. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Arizona.
Okay. Trouble for the call ahead for the Wednesday. Now, when we get on that line, if the 88 approves, they like you down, or they just get on the walk.
Did you hear the question? I believe
My microphone's not.
Go ahead.
I might need that repeat. If someone could translate, my speaker is not very good. I'm sorry.
I believe what Ms. Jenkins was asking, is this terminal or this ending and Brightline going to be ADA compliant?
It will have to be ADA compliant, absolutely.
Specifically, is it Amtrak you have to call ahead to get on board for people who use wheelchairs? But would this be more of a roll-on application, kind of like level boarding?
Right now, we have the alignment and the type of unit they're using. I don't have any details regarding that, but I imagine this is going through a federal review, so it will be, we don't know the detail yet, but it will be ADA compliant.
Provide you when you say ADA compliant, it's different in other. You can get on the roll-on boat. Over here, you have to be locked down by the belts and belts. So like we get on and hold on to the poles, or we're gonna be locked down.
Did you understand the question?
I heard part of it. Here, could you?
Arizona, I believe you were saying that there's 2 different ADA compliances, one with Amtrak and this Brightline. That Amtrak, they have you actually strapped down for your security.
The hotline bus.
The Heartline bus.
So when you get to Disney, you just have to hold on to the pole. You have to take your hand and hold on to the pole.
Are you asking if Brightline is going to have you securely strapped down, or whether you have to hold on to a pole?
Arizona, thank you for asking that question. We don't have those details yet, but if you, I think we can reflect that in our letter that there is concern about ADA compliance in the manner that, wheelchairs and other persons with disability, how their wheelchairs and other equipment will be addressed. We can add that to our request and ask if that will be addressed as part of the consultation process. Now,
Because when you get to the airport, you have to get on the planes. There is no locking down. You have to get on the boat. Hopefully you have enough entrance to hold on. Because it's this way and that way. So I want to make sure they know what we're doing.
Mr. Hagan.
I just have a comment. I've written Brightline down there. They're all level platforms. You roll in.
Right on.
And then their website says that if you're using a wheelchair, you need to add that information to your reservation because they need to know whether you're using one of their chairs or you're going to be just remaining in your chair on the train. So if you do reserve it, you just need to let them know. But it is level. Everything I saw was level. You just walk right on the platform.
The stations need to be consistent as well. So if it's there, if that's how they do it there, then it will be the same thing over here most likely.
right, and they did note that they're using the same trains as Brightline, so that should be consistent. And my experience with high-speed rail has been that too, that you roll directly onto the train. There's no slope. It's a flat surface.
Right. Mr. Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you. Allison, I think I have two questions. One, and maybe I missed this, but the portion that Brightline is doing between I-4 and Union Station, is that all new rail line? They have to construct that?
I don't think it's all new. This is Michael, right? Did you mean if it's new rail line, is it if they're constructing new right away or?
Yeah. They're not using the old plant system or is it all new track?
They didn't the letter that it was all new track, so I think they're using existing.
Okay, yeah, because the second part of my question is, once you get to there, the only east-west line is the line that goes down Cash Street, or mostly down Cash Street, if I'm not mistaken. Or Polk, I'm sorry, you're right. Cass is cycle track. So if Brightline or any service were to go east-west, you would need all brand new rail lines. You can't use what's already there, right?
Yeah, I'm afraid they didn't specify that portion because this is FRA asking for historic review, but we can clarify and also ask about when there will be a public input opportunity for the actual rail alignment.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to remind the committee, this was a letter sent to us just requesting historical resources impacts on shifting the old proposed station to the new proposed location. That's the extent of our review and all we know at this time. Clearly, you guys are very interested in how it connects to the local intermodal, getting around and circulation. That is well beyond the scope of what we've been asked or have the information right now. So we'll put that on a future topic when that's available. I also, want to recognize that Christine Crespo-Valoran had asked about the public hearings and public input opportunities in the chat because she wasn't able to get recognized earlier. I believe Allison's we don't have any of those dates currently. Wade Reynolds posted information about the ADA access to the stations and within the train, so you can get to and from different train cars when you're on there because they have extra wide aisles. So that is in response to some of the things that Arizona was asking. But again, the extent is the cultural historical review right now, and that's what we know and what we're asked to act on.
And I thank you for that, Ms. Silva. But however, if this committee does not prepare itself now for these questions that may be asked later, and given forewarning, which is fair warning, to people that are going to come and ask us where are we going to drop this bright line off at, this would prepare them for answers that may come in the future. Is there any other comments or questions?
You know how much it's gonna cost in the hours
How much it's going to cost? I'm sorry.
to get with the bed to get home?
We don't know that yet. Yeah.
Do you have any idea on the cost of this ride?
No, we don't, but I imagine it will be similar to what Brightline's charging.
Okay. Ms.
So-
Allison, what, are you finished with your report right now?
I just wanted to address Miss Valentine's question about when is another opportunity to have input. So we're in this gray area right now. We're trying to identify an area of potential effect for them. And once the Federal Rail Administration prepares the cultural resource assessment, then they will come up with a schedule. And typically it's through this cultural resources committee. So I think any organizations like the BLC or Architectural Review Board or any even individuals we want to include, we should probably note that in our letter. And I just want to make sure everyone's okay with these resources that you see here. And I didn't mention earlier, but Jackson's house, this is a historic structure that used to house African-American travelers during the time of segregation. So it's a really important historic district right across from the station here. Just wanted to note that. I don't have any more, but I'm happy to take any comments. Unfortunately, the deadline's really close. We have to have a letter to them by tomorrow, and we wanted to make sure we came to the Livable Roadways Committee because we typically do that for all our reviews. So.
And then this is Lisa Silva again. I want to remind everybody or tell them about another opportunity that's related. We have scheduled for both this committee, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and the TPO board presentation on Brightline and multimodal development projects in the Ybor area. That's been confirmed for those December meetings. So next month, you'll get an opportunity to dive into more of that multimodal discussion from a developer that's got a proposal near this area. And we're going to do a little Brightline overview as well.
Yeah, and we are capturing your comments about the alignment as well. So we can, we can include those. It's just, we're not sure how they'll probably be passing those comments on.
Mr. Jenkins, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You want this?
Sorry?
The
The meeting is going to be in Ybor, you're asking? Is the future meeting going to be in Ybor?
Now, December Livable Roadways is when we're going to have a multimodal, transit discussion. We have a developer that's proposing a development near the station that's already confirmed as a guest for our December Livable Roadways meeting, the December BPAC meeting, and the December TPO board meeting. So if you want to tune in to hear more about multimodal and transit, you'll have that opportunity next month.
Michelle, you were asking for a letter from this committee?
No, my requested action, Chair Cipro, is that the board provide the comments, which you already did, and then approve Lisa drafting a letter that includes the information and your comments and have that sent to the Federal Rail Administration.
I will entertain a motion for Ms. Silva to write a letter on behalf of this committee.
Hold on for one moment, please. This is Gail Reese, the recording secretary. There is a question from Melissa Colazzo. Lisa?
Okay, I missed that. Oh, in the question box, not the chat box?
Correct.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I realized the review found negative cultural effects. Did we find adverse effects to historical properties and buildings? Allison?
Lisa, that will be part of the cultural resources assessment. right now we're identifying potential areas that we think may be impacted, and then they will go back and do that. So in the 2010 record of decision with the previous alignment, this is like jumped to the side. They did find a few properties that they were conditionally affected, but the final finding was conditional, no adverse effects. So back when the alignment was to the north, there was the North Franklin Street Historic District that had some visual impacts. This is all in your packet, by the way. And the St. Paul AME Church had identified some visual impacts. These were all addressed. Oak Lawn Cemetery, same visual impacts and construction vibration. So the Ybor Historic District, there was 2 direct takings there, but they were addressed as part of the final environmental statement. And the German American Club had noted some visual impacts and construction vibration. So I imagine those will be common issues that will be addressed as part of this process. But as far as what you see here, we're noting where the historic properties are and that we want to make sure impacts are addressed. That's what we're kind of looking for. So we're going to include this map with the letter, and we already know about Tampa Union Station and Ybor City and the areas around it. But is there anything additional that any of the board members would like to note?
I believe Mr. Hardy has a question. You're recognized.
Thank you. Just one thing, that you can already see how Nucio Parkway, 14th and 15th, already kind of serve as a barrier in splitting the 2 areas of Ybor now, or now 2 areas of Ybor, but there's an area to the west there. One thing I think should be noted, when they come in as an elevated train, it is something that we don't want to create more barriers, and it should be something to where, they have to come in where they have to come in. It's going to be elevated. It's going to be something where they're going to be up high. We don't want just like MES walls all around, creating more barriers, kind of like walling people into that one little enclave, because it will just really shut that area off more from the rest of Ybor than it already is today. So that's the only other thing I would say on that one.
Thank you.
Great comment. Great comment. Mr. Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if it necessarily relates to Cal's comment, but the line here, or the bullet, proposed station relocated approximately 0.6 miles east to the intersection of Nucio and Nebraska Avenue, just west of Union Station. If Union Station is not going away, and this is going to be right there next to it, I think there has to be some incorporation of this station, and whether it's aesthetics or architecture or whatever term you want to use. So I don't know if it's appropriate to put in the letter that whatever station is built there reflects the neighborhood. That it is, it matches sort of the architecture and aesthetics of the neighborhood, as opposed to something that is ultra modern and doesn't fit with the historic development of the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
And then,
Yeah.
okay.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Allison, we have another inquiry in the chat box that if I could pass that along. Christine Crespo Valoran said it's difficult to tell if Perry Harvey Park is included under the local historical landmarks. So that's a good point. That might have been newer and not inventoried here.
Yeah, I see Kid Mason Center, which is essentially across the street from Perry Harvey Park. Kid Mason Center currently is very important in the community. The children that go to their daycare center at Kid Mason Center use Perry Harvey Park currently across the street as well, beyond a lot of other activities. And I know it's a historical, cultural point of significance. So.
Right, so that's probably not noted right now, but we'll note it as a potential local historic landmark. So Perry Harvey Park is a little bit newer, but the structures around it and within the Encore community, there are number of historic structures. Actually, the Jackson House is in that vicinity as well.
Yeah, I see that.
Thank you.
I recognize you have some comment.
Yes, sir. Just to add to Michael's comment about aesthetics and matching the local character, he said that the station, but I also do believe any structures and overpasses should at least try to match and not stand out and kind of bring the character into the structure and not just have a concrete pier, things like that as well.
Right, and not diminish the new cycle track. Anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
Allison, I'm not seeing this map showing the local historic district. They're
I'm
only
sorry,
showing,
you're seeing it show the local historic districts?
yeah, it's just showing the national. Because the local goes west of Nuccio.
Okay, yeah, we'll probably have to revise our shape files. These are the ones, well, actually, we received them externally. So
Yeah.
we'll look at the local historic districts.
These are just showing the district from 74 and then the district in 90, both national. That's
Okay.
why there's a color difference, but the local isn't showing.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, David.
Sure.
If I'm not mistaken, are you using the same tech as the index?
No, that's what was discussed. The tracks are coming down I-4, except for when it comes off of I-4, there will be existing tracks there.
When go in and get one,
Yes.
go left, but
Sorry, Arizona.
when it goes into get one, it's going to your public, like,
Correct.
where you gonna put it there?
Just west of Nuccio and Nebraska Avenue.
That's a good thing.
It is. Any other comments or questions? I just have one. If in this letter, we can just ask something to the effect of looking to the future for a multimodal hub in that area.
Okay.
Please. All right, I believe somebody made a motion. Was it you, Mr.
I
Green,
made the motion, yeah.
to ask Ms. Silva to write this letter? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Marino, seconded by Mr. Hardy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Ms. Silva, anybody online voting yes or no or opposed?
They have the opportunity to unmute themselves and say nay, and they did not. So I believe we have a unanimous motion.
Let the record reflect that the motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Ye.
Thank you for your time, everyone. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
We'd like to discuss our next agenda item about our future dates.
We have Justin Willits trying to speak, and he's unmuted now.
I just had microphone issues this morning, so I was just testing. Thank you.
Okay, great. Justin's with us now. Okay, yes, the approval of the meeting calendar is the staff liaison, which is me. So every year we do this. I would like to point out that instead of the third Wednesday each month, that we're primarily on the fourth Wednesday, unless it conflicts with another committee meeting, the board, or a holiday. So, and then as per usual, you'll be sent hold the date placeholder once these is finalized by the TPO board, and then it'll be updated. When you go ahead and accept all that, it gets updated with any meeting format updates. So if it remains hybrid, you would have the go-to link, etc. So today I'm asking the committee to look at the dates. Those in the room have a physical copy at your area. And those online, it was in the agenda packet. So if there was any problem with any of the dates that you guys recognize, now is your chance to tell me so that I can modify it before the board acts on it. Otherwise, if you would approve the draft calendar as is in the packet, I would appreciate it.
Does anyone in the room that is present have any suggestions, comments, changes? Is there anybody online that can hear my voice? Have any changes that I would like to make to what Ms. Silva has handed us and or put on the agenda? Going once, going twice. Motion is made by Ms. Karen Kress to accept, seconded by Mr. Menendez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Ms. Silva, is there anybody online that says yes, no, maybe, or opposes?
There's been nothing posted in the chat regarding any opposition to approval of the calendar.
Excellent. Let the record reflect that the motion has passed unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Silva. Next, we're going to Ms. Musselman.
Ms. Jennifer
Good morning,
Musselman, I sent you
everyone.
that presentation invite, so.
Yes, Lisa, can you confirm that you can see the right screen?
I see USF Green Artery.
Great.
PowerPoint.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Musselman. You'll be hearing from me twice today, but for this presentation, I'm speaking on behalf of the TPO to share an update on the recommendations from the USF Green Artery Trail Study. So we brought this to you a few months ago to share just an introduction to the study and an overview. I'll recap a bit of that before jumping into the alternatives that we identified in our recommendations. So this study is focused on a trail connection between the proposed Green Artery Trail south of the Hillsborough River and USF in the northeast corner of the map. So looking to connect the neighborhoods throughout this study area to that Green Artery Trail, and then also the destinations in the north with the University Mall that is redeveloping, as you all know, the Veterans Hospital, and then USF as a major attractor there. There's also a couple of important parks up here. So you have Rowlett Park on the bottom right, and then Copeland Park in the middle of the study area that we're hoping to connect as well. So the purpose of our study was to determine the feasibility of a trail connection between that Green Artery Trail and the Veterans Hospital, connecting the neighborhoods along the way. We have 3 proposed alignments to meet that purpose. So I'll walk through each one of the alignments, some of the pros and cons of each, what we heard from the public and our stakeholders, and then our recommendation to move forward. So the first alternative here in red would follow the western edge of the study area. It would start near Nebraska Avenue with a proposed new bicycle and pedestrian bridge that was identified in the Walk Bike Tampa plan. It would then continue up 12th Street with a couple of jogs, then moving over to Lantana Avenue before ultimately going to 109th and 15th to get up to Fowler Avenue, and then into the University Mall and that proposed rhythm at Uptown development to connect then into the Veterans Hospital and USF. One of the key features of this alignment is that it does serve the TPO's communities of concern, which are mostly concentrated in the western end of the study area. The proposed treatment for this alignment would be a bicycle boulevard or neighborhood greenway. So the speed on 12th and Lantana is already pretty low today at 25 miles per hour, and these are also pretty low volume streets. So we think that with some modifications, bikes can share the road quite comfortably with cars. So don't expect you to be able to read this map, but it is available in the report online. So we recommended a series of treatments to slow vehicles further with some potential traffic circles, some diverters to encourage through trips to happen on other routes like 15th Street in Nebraska for more of that through travel, some speed humps to get folks to slow down throughout the route and really prioritize bicycle travel through this area. For the higher volume, higher speed streets, and you can see the green here, we would propose a separated facility, a separate trail from traffic. Alternative 2 goes kind of right through the middle of the study area on 22nd Street. It starts in the southeast corner on Rowlett Park Drive and would go over the Rowlett Park Bridge before connecting up to 22nd Street. And because this goes right through the study area, it does still serve some of the communities of concern on the west and starts to get closer to the destinations on the eastern end of the study area. 22nd Street today is a little bit higher speed at 30 miles per hour and a little bit higher traffic. It is used as more of a through route. So the recommendation here would be to have a separated trail along the whole way. And then some of the spot treatments we would still recommend would be some raised crossings at trail crossings to bring awareness to the trail, make sure that folks are slowing down as they're pulling in and out of driveways in case there are trail users there. And some modifications at the major intersections to make safer trail crossings. So at Bush Boulevard, Fowler Avenue, some of those major signals to try to prioritize the trail movement more. The third and final alternative that we evaluated is 30th Street, so the far east end of the study area. It starts the same way as alternative 2, so on Rowlett Park Drive here, over the Rowlett Park Bridge, then through at Rowlett Park before continuing north on 30th Street all the way up. This is a project that the city of Tampa is already looking at. So they'll be moving into design for a portion of it from Yukon Street up to Fowler Avenue. So there is a segment of this that may be advancing in the near term already. And as part of that City of Tampa project, what they have envisioned is a shared street for the piece between Yukon and Bush Boulevard, and then a separated trail on the west end between Bush Boulevard and Fowler Avenue, where 30th Street is a bit higher speed. So we'd propose to continue that separated trail north up to the VA hospital and then south to get you across the Hillsborough River. So we identified a series of goals for the project to evaluate how these alternatives serve the community and meet those needs. So first and foremost, improve safety for bicycle and pedestrian users. We want to increase low stress network connectivity between key destinations, leveraging planned improvements. So there's a lot going on in this area. It has a study on Fowler Avenue. The city is looking at changes to 30th Street, some improvements to 22nd Street, also some of the east-west roads. And then we know the county has some projects up on Bruceby Downs and on some of the east-west roads in their portion. So wanting to connect as many of those planned projects as possible. Want to improve access to communities of concern to area amenities, so focus on connecting schools, parks, shopping, and jobs to be able to meet everyday needs. Leveraging the Uptown Master Plan, so that redevelopment of the University Mall to increase connectivity between Rhythm, the University Mall site, the VA Hospital, USF, and the surrounding community. Improve walk and bike access to high frequency transit routes, and then attract users of all ages and abilities. So identify a facility where everyone will feel comfortable riding. So we evaluated each of the alternatives based on these goals. So we'll walk through a few of the highlights here. The top table is how well each alternative met the goals. Kind of the green met the goal, the yellow half moon met it somewhat, and then the red did not address the goal. And then we also have risk to implementation. So how risky is the project to implement based on the cost of the project, some of the constraints that we might face. So looking at alternative 1, that was that neighborhood greenway on 12th and Lantana. It is the only alternative that fully meets the needs of communities of concern, really concentrated in that western area. It's also the lowest risk to implement because we're not making major changes to the roadway. Things can be done in a pretty low cost manner and can also happen piece by piece as funding becomes available. Alternative 2 meets the goals of the study the best, partly because it does split right down the middle on 22nd Street. And so you're getting the best of kind of both worlds of the two alternatives. It's also the riskiest to implement. There are several sections of 22nd Street where you cannot fit a trail today. And so there would have to be some utility relocation, some major roadway reconstruction to be able to fit that trail in. And then alternative 3 does meet the majority of the goals. It's lower risk than alternative 2 as the trail can fit in with the current roadway configuration without major changes, but it's still a bit more expensive, just the fact that it is a separated trail. So what we heard, we met with a series of partners, some of you all in the meeting today, to get input throughout the study. So the 2 municipalities where this trail crosses through the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County, also coordinated with Fdot as this does cross a couple of their state roads. University of South Florida, the Rhythm at Uptown, Innovation Partnership, and Veterans Hospital as kind of key landholders in this area. And then the Campus Hill Drive neighborhood was also a focus of our outreach as they don't have a dedicated neighborhood association. So we met with that group first one-on-one at the beginning of the study to hear their input, and then as a group to have a focus group to review the alignments. An outcome of that meeting was shifting the trail originally proposed on 15th Street over to Lantana Avenue for that alternative 1 to create a lower speed environment for the facility. That's when it was really pointed out that 22nd Street would require a bit of utility coordination to be able to add the trail. Folks in that group also noted that the high volumes and speed on 30th Street may make it uncomfortable even if there is a physically separated trail. Folks may not want to ride in that environment. And then a general desire to make sure that we're taking into account future development. We also put out a public survey. So it's open for about 6 weeks. And we really tried to focus our outreach in the communities of concern, folks that we don't hear from as much in the transportation process. So those key partners helped us spread the word to their organizations. We did individual flyering at all of the homes along the 12th and Lantana Street alignment through those communities of concern, and also that Campus Hill Drive neighborhood that doesn't have a neighborhood organization that we could reach out to. And then left flyers at about 40 different apartment complexes, businesses, community centers, places where we thought people would frequent throughout the survey period. We went to the University Area Transit Center, spent a little bit of time there talking to transit riders, having them fill out the survey. And then we also did a paid advertisement on Facebook to the zip codes in the study area to try to reach people that way as well. So we got about 77 responses to our survey, and about a third of them were in communities of concern. So we were pretty happy that we were able to reach a good number of folks in that area. Most of the people that took the survey identified themselves as interested but concerned. So they want to get out and walk and ride, but they really want a nice facility, a safe facility to be able to do that. They also mentioned that health and fitness were the most common motivation for walking and biking. So good to know that a lot of the folks who took the survey are not necessarily walking and biking out of need, but more by choice for recreation. And some of the key destinations they wanted to connect were USF, the University Mall, Rowlett Park, University Square neighborhood. Let's see, so getting to their preferences, the highest choice was 30th Street, that eastern alignment, followed by 22nd and then 12th and Lantana. We asked a follow-up question about 22nd Street since we do know that it is going to be a little bit more challenging to get the trail there. So we asked folks if we were to open the facility as more of a neighborhood greenway, a shared street treatment, would they feel comfortable riding? The overwhelming majority said no. They would really only want to be on 22nd Street if it was a separated facility, which is good to know as we kind of decide what to move forward with and what is feasible to keep going. So to wrap up, Our recommended alternative in our study is to move forward with both alternative 1 and alternative 3. So the 12th Lantana Street alignment and the 30th Street alignment. We feel like alternative 3 makes a lot of sense to keep going with, since the city of Tampa has already built a lot of momentum around it and is proceeding into design. And then as a complement to that, we thought the 12th Street and Lantana Avenue kind of builds out a more complete network through the area and really meets the needs of the communities of concern, which is a key focus of the TPO and highlighted in their real choices when not driving needs assessment to prioritize trail connections in these areas. So rather than a single alignment, we're taking more of a system approach to be able to start to get a good network of walk and bike facilities through this area. So that is all we have for you today. This is an action item, so we would be requesting action to approve the recommendations that are found in the draft report. So happy to take any questions or comments.
Any comments or any questions? Mr. Hay, you're recognized.
Hi, I had a question. How is lighting or lack of lighting taken into account when we're deciding these potential routes, especially when we're on the routes where we're sharing the road with autos?
That's a great question. So we did not take into account existing lighting when looking at the different alternatives, but with alternatives that move forward, lighting would definitely be a consideration and implementation, especially at intersections and crossings. Would want to make that a priority to enhance lighting where needed.
Mr. Jenkins.
Well, and 24. No way is that building and landmark and where the area for 3rd Street, where they're looking.
Is it, are you asking, it's the other side of Hillsborough?
12th Street, is it 12th Street? Where that
The 12th, the question, Ms. Musselman, was 12th Street in Hillsborough?
12th Street and that one of this, what,
12th Street and Line Ball, is it going to go through there? Is that what you're asking, Arizona? Is it going to go through 12th Street and Line Ball?
It is, let me pull up a map to see exactly where it jogs over. It does jog over to Lantana when you cross over the railroad tracks. And so we are on Line Ball for just a bit at 12th Street.
But Mr. Jenkins is saying you do realize that is a dangerous area.
Yes, and we have in the report and in that graphic that I showed quickly, we've recommended some major changes to that intersection to make it easier to get folks through.
Mr. Marino.
Thank you. Maybe I missed it, Jennifer. What was the feedback that you got from the school board?
So we have not engaged the school board directly through this study.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw that Sulphur Springs was elementary specifically mentioned. If I'm correct in reading the map, I think so Sulphur Springs is a K through 8. I think there's one more K through 8, and then there's 2 elementary schools that are in this segment. So that's why I was surprised, because I think on you're scoring for alternative 2, the one that goes down 22nd Street, specifically goal 3, improve access for communities of concern and area amenities, including schools, parks, schools, parks, shopping, and jobs. I understand, obviously I understand the comment that 22nd Street isn't the safest route in the world. But 22nd Street has 1, 2 schools, 2 parks, and then actually once you cross over into Rogers Park, and go further down 22nd Street, you pick up another park and then a middle school. So that's why I wanted to hear what the school board thought, because I would think they'd have a comment on that. And so my last question then, for the alternatives that you don't pick, will there be any follow-up in the future to say, okay, well, it may not work for a green artery, but what can be done on those streets in the meantime if they're not going to get a full-blown trail? What pedestrian improvements can be done in the meantime?
Yeah, it's a great point. So just on your first point quickly, that criteria is really focused on connecting communities of concern with the destination. And so since 22nd Street does not go through the communities of concern, that's why it's scored lower. So it does not provide a direct route to get folks living in the community of concern neighborhoods to the schools. And then to your second question, absolutely. I think through this study, we've shown that all 3 of these routes have merit and could make sense to move forward with at different points in time as funding becomes available. These were the 2 that we suggested moving forward with more quickly in the near term. But I know City of Tampa, and Cal, I don't know if you want to add anything, has some potential changes in the pipeline for 22nd Street to start to make that a little bit more safe.
Yeah, I was going to mention that the 22nd Street, we're already looking. We have a study and we're doing with DOT's leading actually on 22nd Street, and it was already identified as a 2020 surtax project. So it's a priority. It's unfunded right now, as is 30th, to be honest. So, but 30th is nearing, we're past 60% design, so we'll have projects ready. We just don't have funding for it right now, but both those projects are already identified. Both were 2020 surtax projects, and both are prioritized.
Thank you.
And
Hey,
then
this is Matt Pleasant with the school district. If there's a way I can raise my hand, I'm not seeing it on my end, so sorry to just jump in.
Well,
But
go ahead and jump in. You're recognized.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Jennifer. My name is Matthew Pleasant. I work with the school district. You guys can always engage with us. I don't recall receiving any emails or invitations to comment on this beforehand. I wish I had a little bit more time to review the routes and give detailed feedback before the meeting today. But yeah, it's I would say my experience with the school district so far is pretty typical that we're not engaged at the growth management office, which is really too bad. We have a lot to offer, a lot of feedback, and we can help engage. It's also great. You guys can go directly to the school, but we can really help you kind of get some good quality feedback that would really influence the route potentially. So I just want to put that out there, not just for Jennifer, just for everybody on this phone call.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Thanks for putting that out.
Any other comments or questions?
Hi, yes, this is Christine Crespo. I do have a question. When you guys, hello? Oh, okay. When you guys looked into alternative 1 and started evaluating that route, I understand that it is a lower speed, or currently a lower speed roadway, but was any consideration given to providing a separate bike trail facility along that route? If so, I guess what were the constraints that you had?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe we can go back to the photo. So as part of this study, we did not consider a separated trail. part of it was to provide some different options, some different levels of investment and cost that could be advanced. And so if folks wanted to move forward with a lower cost alternative, the 12th and Lantana alignment provided a really great option for that, to be able to move forward with something more quickly with less investment. If you look at the existing street on 12th, you see for most of it, there's not existing sidewalk, so it would take quite a bit of property owner coordination to be able to get something in there. You know, there's mailboxes and, you know, folks are parking in this area. So it wouldn't be impossible, but would take a higher level of coordination, and we felt like the neighborhood greenway would be a good option for this route.
So, okay, thank you. Thank you for that information. I think that, you know, it's something really important and relevant to consider, that I think alternative one is a fantastic option, particularly like you mentioned, when trying to work with those communities of concern. That I think something that I would caution is providing, I think, the lowest risk, which really from what I'm hearing is the lowest potentially financial risk, as the alternative that best suits the communities of concern. I think that if we're trying to provide an alternative that really meets the needs of that community, sometimes linking it up with the lowest cost option may not really achieve what the community truly needs. And one of the questions that you guys asked them was the preference between a shared use facility versus a separate facility. And you can see typically people are going to say separate for sure. I mean, that feeling of safety and truly being able to use that facility usually goes hand in hand with being a separate facility. So if at any point there is the potential to look into alternative one and creating a separate facility a little further, I would certainly encourage it. I think the community would probably be best served with an investment in it that truly achieves and meets the needs of that community. But thank you.
Thanks, Christine. That's really great input.
Any other comments or questions? Ms. Musselman, are you asking for this committee to draft a letter in support of, where am I at? Alternative 3 with advancing alternative 1, 12th Street and Lantana Avenue?
We don't need a letter. We would like a motion later. Lisa, you can chime in on the specifics maybe.
Yep. So when we have TPO studies that are in draft format and final and being presented for action on TPO committees, we ask that the committee provide a motion to recommend approval to the TPO board. So that's what we're asking for. And unless you see some glaring problems, and then you make a motion to approve with blah, blah, blah as the edits. Or you recommend denial.
Ms. Musselman, you heard the comment from the representative from the school board. Is this time sensitive, or would you rather try and reach out to the school board as well before we make any recommendations?
I may defer to Wade on that one.
Yes, this is Wade Reynolds, the project manager for the TPO on this. This is going to the board in January, and we'd be happy to engage with Mr. Pleasant between now and the board action in January for any comments the school board may have.
I thank you for that. I do not want to make the decision. I would like for someone else to ask for a postponement or continue this into our next meeting.
Could we make him, if I may, make a motion to move forward this with the caveat that you work with Matt Pleasant and his group to identify the most effective routes for students reaching schools, especially in this community's concern?
I think that would be an appropriate motion.
Absolutely. I was thinking that one.
Okay, motion has been made by Ms. Hinsdale, seconded by Mr. Menendez. All in favor, say aye. Is there any opposed?
I see nothing in the chat, and I wanted to thank Matt. I'm so glad the school board's on the livable roadways, so we can make sure that they get engaged in our studies at the appropriate times and get meaningful feedback. So I made note to make sure I got them my park study soon. So good job. All right.
Let the record reflect that the motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Musselman. I believe you're up for another round with us.
Yes, you are stuck with me for just a little while longer. Let me see if I can switch my screen over. Lisa, am I still presenting?
Yes. And I'm seeing you flip screens,
Oh,
so you're good to go.
That's the wrong one. And while I'm doing this, I will hand it over to Brian Schroyer, the department project manager, to kick us off.
Okay. We're not,
Hello.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Hi, this is Brian Schroyer with the Fdot Planning Office. Bringing this presentation of a corridor study we're looking at on 50th, 56th Street. It's from the Crosstown Expressway, Summit Expressway, all the way north to Fletcher Avenue. Quite extensive things we're looking at out here. So we're just bringing it up to date with what we've done so far and what we're looking at and what we're going to continue to do through the rest of the study. Jennifer will have a lot of information to show. And then once she's done, if there's any questions that you want to ask, you can get with me. I just want to make sure you know I'm here and be ready for anything you have. So I'll let Jennifer take over with it now.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for bearing with me as I switched the slides a million times back and forth. So we'll go through an overview of the study, talk through some of the issues and opportunities that we've identified through our existing conditions analysis, share a draft purpose and need statement for you all to provide input on, and then talk through next steps. Unlike the previous presentation, we are much earlier on in this project, so really at the input gathering stage. So this project was identified primarily coming out of the Hillsborough TPO Vision Zero Action Plan. Segments of both 50th and 56th Street were identified on the high injury network. So a top priority of this study is to identify safety solutions and countermeasures to improve safety for all the users out here. And there's a very diverse set of users on these streets to improve multimodal safety and connectivity along the street segments. And then develop a vision for the future. There's a lot of different communities that are connected through 50th and 56th Street. And so developing a vision on how a transportation network can start to stitch those communities together. So we are looking at about 8 miles, starting on 50th Street in the south near the Summit Expressway. Then we jog over when it becomes 56th Street around MLK, and then continue up to Fletcher Avenue. That segment between Fowler and Fletcher is county maintained. It's not a state road, but looking at the whole segment comprehensively to identify some possible changes. The roadway starts off as 6 lanes on the southern end near the expressway and I-4, and then transitions to 4 lanes through a majority of the area. There are sidewalks on both sides for most of the study area, and bike lanes in a majority, with the exception of the section from Temple Terrace, where you have shared lane markings where bicyclists share the road with cars. The posted speed varies quite a bit, and we'll get into this in more detail later in the presentation, but ranges from 35 to 50 miles per hour. And this is a major transit corridor. So you have one of Hart's most productive routes along 56th Street, and then you have the Net Park Transfer Center on the east side of the street as well, where multiple routes converge to be able to facilitate transfers there. So we're about a third of the way into the study. And so we started earlier in the year and really focused on identifying what the problems are out there, looking at the existing conditions and drafting our purpose and needs statements. So we're here today to get your input on the information so far before we share that with the public in a workshop in December. Once we get through that workshop, then we'll start moving into identifying different alternatives and evaluating those before putting together the corridor implementation plan, which will identify short, medium, and long-term solutions out here. So we've identified a project advisory group to meet the major milestones throughout the project, made up of City of Tampa, Temple Terrace, and Hillsborough County, all have jurisdiction in different parts of the street, working with the TPO and the Planning Commission, HART and the Expressway Authority, Florida Highway Patrol, University of South Florida, which is very close to 56th Street on the north end, and then Hillsborough County Public Schools, as we have King High School and Temple Terrace Elementary School located along the corridor. In addition to those project advisory group members, we've also reached out individually to the schools, to neighborhood groups, businesses, community associations to get their input throughout the study. So we offered one-on-one meetings with each of these groups, and then we'll continue to work with them to advertise things such as the public meeting. So I would welcome any input from you all and others that should be added to this list. Starting to talk through some of the key issues that we've identified so far. The first and foremost is safety. So we had 50 crashes involving pedestrians and bicyclists just outside of intersections. So a key need to try to improve crossings along the street. There's a lot of multimodal activity, a lot of walking and biking that's happening all along the street in more industrial areas and more residential areas. It doesn't really matter. There's a lot of folks using this street. And then also some lighting concerns. So a lot of the street has been upgraded to the LED lighting, the brighter lights, but there are some places that are still a little bit dimly lit that could use some more attention. And we did see 11 fatal crashes during the 5-year period that we reviewed, an additional 1,300 people that were injured on the street. Another key opportunity is transit. So I mentioned this street has some of the most productive transit in HART's network. You can see in the map, these bubbles represent the number of people that are getting on and off the bus at different stops. So you can see the Net Park Transfer Center is a major on and off destination. You also see people getting on and off all throughout the corridor, and also focus on some of the main east-west connections of Bush Boulevard, Fowler Avenue. So folks are using transit to get up and down 56, but also to connect to some of the major east-west corridors as well. Looking at a vehicle perspective, things are operating pretty well today. So we analyzed the level of service, which, as you all know, is the letter grade system from A through F. Level of service D is Fdot's target for this roadway. And the majority of both our segments and our intersections are currently operating at that level of service D or better. For segments that are operating worse, most of the time it's because an upstream signal, a downstream signal is causing congestion. So it's not that there's not enough capacity on the roadway segment, but folks are having to slow down for the next signal. We also heard from our stakeholder groups that there's some time of day congestion around school pickup and drop off, and also that some of the intersection congestion can affect transit reliability and on-time performance. From a land use and redevelopment perspective, we're seeing a big focus in Temple Terrace. So this is a Temple Terrace vision map, and you can see 56th Street kind of in the middle here. And this pink area is their central business district. And if you go out today, you can see a lot of redevelopment is already happening in a much more urban fashion. So streets, buildings are close to the street and creating a lot more walkable environment in this area of Temple Terrace. Other parts of the corridor we don't expect to redevelop as much. Particular note in the city of Tampa, 50th Street has some of the last remaining industrial parcels in Tampa, and so there's a desire to be able to preserve some of that to still have industrial land within the city limits. So I mentioned we'd get back to speed. You can see on the map here with the different colors changing back and forth, that the speed changes multiple times as you travel along. The lowest speeds are seen in that downtown Temple Terrace area in yellow, and some of the highest posted speeds are near MLK, where you transition from 50th to 56th Street. Regardless of what the speed is posted at or what the speed limit is, drivers are continuously going 50 miles per hour and above. When we collected data, we also saw quite a few folks going 70 miles per hour and above out here on the street. So in some cases, that's pretty major speeding when you have posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour and folks going above 50. And in some places, it's not necessarily a speeding problem, but still a high speed for this street. And the posted speed limit and higher speeds don't necessarily correlate to better vehicle operations, folks actually getting through the corridor faster. So in this 35 mile per hour section, we have pretty good operations. People are moving through efficiently, just at a little bit of a slower speed. And in some of our high posted speed sections, we actually see some of our most congestion. So folks in the peak periods aren't able to actually get up to the posted speed. They're having to travel slower during the peak times just due to congestion. And this corridor serves a very diverse population. So about 2/3 of the residents in their study area are non-white, with a strong Black community and Hispanic community. There's also a strong youth population. So we mentioned we have King High School out here. We have Temple Terrace Elementary. We also have a technical college in USF close by. So there's a lot of children and young adults that are moving along and across this corridor on a daily basis. And last point here is the median income. So the majority of folks that are living in this study area have a median income less than the county average, county median, which is $53,000. And there's several pockets throughout the study area where folks are making less than $17,000 a year and would be in more of that extreme poverty category. So as we look at all of these opportunities and start to draft a purpose statement for what we want this project to achieve, we have eliminate fatal and severe injury crashes and prioritize accessibility of multimodal options through design and operational strategies that support existing and future places. So really putting safety at the top of the purpose, also prioritizing access to different options, different ways to get around if folks don't have a car, doing this through a wide range of solutions that could involve roadway changes and also some smaller spot treatments, and doing it through a lens that supports the land uses that are there today and the places that we expect to see in the future, particularly in Temple Terrace. And then as you drill down a little bit into some of the specific needs that we've drafted based on that purpose statement, so increase the frequency and safety of crossing opportunities for bicyclists and pedestrian. I noticed a lot of our bicycle and pedestrian crashes are happening outside of intersections. Folks don't have many opportunities to safely cross the street. Design and operate the street consistent with surrounding land uses to support existing and future places. Improve transit access and service efficiency, so doing what we can to improve HART service out here. Balance freight and vehicular mobility with the needs of vulnerable users at conflict points. So there is a lot of industrial land out here. It's likely going to stay. Freight is going to continue to be a key factor out here. It's not going anywhere, but how can we manage conflicts at intersections so that those interactions are more comfortable and safer for folks who are on foot or on bike? Provide safe local resident and business access needs, so really support the community that is adjacent to 56th Street. Provide better multimodal access for the communities of concern, and improve bicyclist and pedestrian safety and comfort along the corridor, so providing comfortable facilities for people to move along 50th and 56th Street in addition to trying to get across. So our next steps, we do have a public meeting scheduled for December 14th. It will have both an in-person and a virtual component. So if you'd like to join us in person, it will be in Temple Terrace. And if you want to join virtually or spread the word, there will be a GoToWebinar component as well. Once we get input on all of what I've shared today from the public, I mentioned we'll move into identifying and evaluating different alternatives. We'll then come back to you all and the public to get input on those alternatives, and then work with our project advisory group to identify next steps for implementation. So that's all we have for you today. Brian mentioned he is available for any comments or questions outside of this presentation, but happy to take anything you have now. And this is not an action item. I'm just looking for input today.
Thank you, Ms. Musselman. Is there any comments, any questions? Ms. Hinsdale?
I just wondered if you were coordinating with the Hillsborough County Safe Routes to School study at King High School, that it's just kicking off.
Yep, we will be looking to coordinate that. I know there was a roadway safety audit done a few years ago, so we have that in our possession, and we're looking at those recommendations. Do you know who is leading that Safe Routes to Schools at the TPO?
No, it's specifically through the county transportation. I'll give me a minute. I'll try to find out the name.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, we have Hillsborough County reps on our committee. Is anybody there online familiar with who the project manager is on the King High School Safe Routes project? Is that Abigail Flores or somebody else? Larry or Matt?
It's Abigail Flores.
It is, okay.
Okay,
Great.
and Abigail is in our project advisory group, so we'll be coordinating with her throughout the study.
Okay, that's good to know of that specific study. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions? Ms. Silva, anyone online? Comments or questions with their hands raised?
Yeah, Sandra Piccarelli. Sandra. Are you able to unmute yourself, Sandra, to ask your comment? Jason, can you see if you can sort that out for her?
It shows that she is unmuted.
Okay, and then Sarah Hendricks says she has one as well. Maybe we can have a Sarah go in the meantime.
Sure. Thanks, Lisa. Yes, Jennifer, I'm Sarah Hendricks, and I represent the New North Transportation Alliance, which is a transportation management forum in the USF area. And we're definitely interested in learning more about the project and being more involved in this as a stakeholder. I know there's a lot of bicycle and pedestrian traffic that needs to cross over 56th Street east to west and west to east. We've had some improvements to 56th Street north of Fowler, rectangular rapid flashing beacons. And we know that despite these improvements and a lowering of the posted speed limit out there, there are still safety problems in that area. So we're primarily interested in that and looking forward to more bicycle and pedestrian safety improvements in the area. Thanks.
Thanks, Sarah. We can definitely add you to our list, and maybe if you don't mind, we can share some information on our public meeting and have you help spread the word to the Alliance.
Great. Thank you.
Hey, Lisa, this is Larry Josephson. Usually FDOT forwards information on projects to us that intersect county roads like the 56th Street corridor. So I imagine they will be, when a final or a draft final of that study is performed, they will forward it to us for review.
Okay.
And if not, if you, Jennifer, if you can make note of that to forward it to our review group, which is, they all have the email address, but it's PW-CIP Transportation Review at hillsboroughcounty.org.
Great, thank you for that. And then it appears that Sandra has typed in her comment, and it says that she wanted to point out that there is also a charter school on 56th Street.
That's right, and there's several private schools as well.
Okay.
And actually, Jennifer, both of those projects, the bike ways and so forth, should also come through us, and we would distribute that to Abigail Flores for review.
Okay. Well, and then Mike, I propose, like the last time, that you, now that it's in this provide comments kind of stage, the school district has a site circulation committee. So this would be a great project to bring through them at the early stages so they could identify anything that would impact the circulation on and off site of the schools adjacent to the alignment.
Got it. Thanks, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to add a quick comment. I am a resident of Temple Terrace. I actually live at the intersection of 56 and North River Hills Drive. I really appreciate this study being done. I'm going to participate in the upcoming public hearing that you guys have and provide more detailed comments there. It is a complicated corridor with a lot of use. Most of the people that use the corridor for bicycle or pedestrian access, I would venture to say aren't doing it recreationally. So it's definitely a very important need. So anyway, I appreciate the work that's being done here, and I look forward to participating in some of those public hearings. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, Christine.
Any other comments or questions? Ms. Musselman, thank you for both of your presentations today.
Thank you all.
Okay, we will round it out with Ms. Karen Kress giving us a presentation for the Downtown Partnership.
And this is Wade Reynolds with the TPO. Karen, if you'd like to introduce this, and Lisa, if you would like to make me the presenter, I can.
Okay, great, because someone's like, oh, she's in the room. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I think that's, I don't know where the microphone is. Tampa Downtown Partnership. Wade is going to give you the lion's share of the information, but I've been happy to partner with both Wade and the city of Tampa on this project. I had to bring in Hillsborough County, and we're already working with the Florida Department of Transportation to try to get some counts done on not only cars, but bicyclists and pedestrians. I'm hoping to pilot that in downtown Tampa, and Wade is going to talk to you about kind of the big picture. So thanks for your attention.
And thank you all again, committee members. I just want to direct you to FDOT's count website map here. They have done the stars on this map, which you will see one downtown is a continuous count station. That is on the Jackson Street cycle track. The purple dots here are the short-term count stations that have been conducted. You'll see one on the Courtney Campbell Causeway Trail, one on the Selman Greenway, and one on the Riverwalk right now. FDOT has also evaluated several locations, and then there have been several more proposed around town, including several in downtown that we are hoping to look at for this this count study. And I hope you can see those dots on there. Great. So the current ones are located at, or the proposed ones, excuse me, are located at North Boulevard, the Cass Street cycle track, Kennedy, Ashley Drive, another location on the Riverwalk. And then zooming out, we have spoken to Mr. Moreno about a location right here near Dana Shores that connects to Skyway Park from the Courtney Campbell Causeway. And then there are several proposed sites on the Upper Tampa Bay Trail or adjacent to it, including on the Town and Country Greenway nearby that have been proposed for counts. This is a process that statewide central FDOT office is offering throughout the state. There were several count locations done earlier this year in Pasco County, and they are offering us training in February, and then we will be out, or we will have their equipment out doing counts for a continuous couple of weeks over the following 3-week period. So please we're just happy to be doing this and happy to get some good counts in so we can have some baseline data on some of these areas. There have not been consistent counts conducted in many years, and even then, a lot of it was manual historically, just people with worksheets counting. So we're very excited to be doing this with FDOT, and we have a memorandum of agreement going to the board at their next meeting for approval to use their counting equipment, and then looking forward to doing this in February. So we welcome any comments, and if you have additional possible count locations to include, maybe not necessarily this year, but in future years, we'd love to hear those as well and get those documented for FDOT. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Kress, anything you'd like to add?
No, just it'll be fun to use the information.
Any comments or any questions? Mr. Reynolds, I thank you very much. Ms. Silva, I see your hand up. You're muted, Ms. Silva.
Sorry about that. I was in discussions with Matthew Pleasant at the school district recently about the pretty dire need for bike ped counts in and around schools. Are any of these counters flexible enough to assist us in that in some future year?
We are hoping to make this an ongoing annual process with FDOT. What we have done with our motorized counts, for example, is we only do 1/3 of the locations annually. So every 3 years, we get a full count of our vehicle counting locations. There's a possibility of doing something similar like that, but we are open to considering and working with FDOT to try and work in any counts near schools that the school board might like to provide.
Okay, and then secondly, could you tell the committee where the data then would be stored for use?
Yes, this map that we are on right now is part of, oh, excuse me, yes, you can still see it, good. The Florida statewide data repository here is where it is all stored. And when you go to these count stations, you're actually able to click on any one throughout the state. Of course, it probably won't work for me now that I'm trying to do it. And it provides a link to the count data, which then comes up, well, not that one. Typically, they provide, there you go, the forms from the site visits and what those that count information is. So it will be accessible to anybody through the statewide data repository.
Great. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds, for your report. And Ms. Kress. Do we have any new business to bring before the committee? Ms. Silva, any old business we need to bring?
Yes, I would like to remind the committee that we're having the World Day of Remembrance event this Sunday morning. I put the flyer in the packet, and then it's also a physical one at each location in the Plan Hillsborough room. So please come out. We're unfortunately, like many people higher than even last year, which was also a tragic year. So we're in the 200s already, and we keep getting new reports each day. So we're going to be out there to do a respectful acknowledgement of all the fatalities on our roadways. So we'll be out in the New Tampa area. Details in the flyer.
Mr. Willis, I see you there. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that next week will be my last one at Hart. So this will be my last LRC. So it's been real, and I'll see you guys on the other side. I'll let you know where I'm going at a later date. Thanks.
Mr. Willis, thank you for all your hard work and all your input. You have done Hart a great service for being with them.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your service to livable roadways.
All right, if I hear nothing else, everybody have a good Thanksgiving. Spend time with your family and your friends, and let's be all thankful that we have a great life. Thank you. We're adjourned.